Hi and welcome to another video on how to create a game like Clash of Clans. It's been a while and I've been trying to create a battle system. I have made some progress, but it still needs work. I see that a lot of you guys in the comments are waiting for the next video, so I'm kind of rushing this just to give you a preview, and hopefully we can create the basics of the battle system now and we will keep debugging and improving it. So in the description of this video there is a link that you can download the entire source code up until the end of this video. There is also another link to download this zip file called part 22 draft. So basically the files in here, let me extract it. I've already wrote a bunch of code and put it in this folder, and I'm gonna be using this because I don't want to keep typing code during the video, so I'm just gonna copy and paste these files. You can also follow my moves, or you could just download the entire source code after this video is finished. So first I'm gonna start with the database. Here in this MySQL folder, you'll see a file named clashofwhatever.sql. That is the extension of the file. So I am going to my database. As you can see, we've already created a bunch of tables for our database. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete them. So I'm gonna check all of them and choose drop and click yes. So all the tables has been deleted. Now I'm gonna select my database and I'm going to go to the import section. Then I'm gonna hit browse file, and in my desktop the folder that we just extracted, here it is, and then MySQL and this SQL file, I'm gonna select that, and here let's hit import. So basically it's going to recreate all the tables, but the good thing is there is a bunch of data in this. I've actually spent some time and researched, and as you can see there are some values here in the server buildings. For different levels of different buildings I have data. The same thing here in the server units. There are basic values. Of course, there are a lot of variables that worth considering, but for now this is something we could work with. And as you can see, I've added a bunch of other columns like attack range, damage, attack speed, and stuff like that. So that is our database. Let me minimize this and go back to my client. If you remember, in our scripts there is a script called data. We have this data on both server and the client, and the content of the data are exactly the same thing on both ends. So let me open this up. This is my data on the client, and I have the server project open as well. Here it is my server project. There is also a data script here. So we have both data classes open. So let me minimize them. Here in this folder I have a data class. So I'm gonna open this and let's select all the content of this data up until here, which is the end. I'm not gonna take the data class and the namespace. As you can see, let's go up here. This is the class and that is the namespace. I'm not gonna take those two. I'm just gonna get the contents of the class, and I am going to copy that, and let me close this. Here is the data on the server, and I am going to select all of this as well up until here, and let me remove that. As you can see, now I have an empty data class. Now I am going to paste the values I've copied before, and that is for our server. We have an error. Let's check this out. We have an error for battle. We're gonna add that later, but for now let's just leave it like this. Let's go to the client as well, and here in the data I am going to select everything, delete that as well, and paste the values here. So now with the data class in the server and the client have the exact same content. So we have some errors here as well. So for this error, as I mentioned, we're gonna fix it by copying the relevant class. But for this two, we could just add the namespace by saying using system threading.tasks. So I'm gonna click on that. It's been added for me. You can also type it, so that's gonna take care of those errors. Now we have only that error and we're going to fix that next. As you can see, we are missing a class called battle. Well, no worries, because we have it in the folder. As you can see, there is a battle class. So before I do that, let me just delete the data because we don't need it anymore. While we are adding the battle, it would be better to add this A* pathfinding folder as well. It contains a bunch of classes. I'm going to show you how to use that later, but for now let's add it to the project first. In the client, it's very easy to add it. Let's just go to the scripts, and here I'm gonna select that. Also select the battle class as well, selecting both of them together, and I'm gonna drag and drop it into my client project here in the scripts folder, and simply like that they're going to be added to the project. Now in the scripts folder we have a battle script. We also have a folder called A* pathfinding, which contains a bunch of other scripts. So we're gonna add this to the server as well. Let me minimize this, and here in my server project, so there are multiple ways you can add those scripts to your server project. You can just drag and drop them. Let's see how this works. I'm gonna drag and drop the battle script to my server project, and as you can see, it's been added to my project. Let's also drag and drop this A* pathfinding. I'm gonna drag and drop it in the scripts folder. Let's actually drag and drop the battle to the scripts folder as well. And now we have them here as well. But to make them work, we actually need to match the namespace of the battle with the rest of the scripts in our project. For example, let's take a look at the database. As you can see, the namespace of the database is different from the namespace of the battle script that we've just dragged and dropped. So to fix any errors, I'm just gonna copy the namespace of my database, and let's go to the battle and paste it here. And as you can see, all the errors are gone now. You don't need to change the namespace of the A* pathfinding scripts. You should also do the same thing if you encountered any errors on your client. If you didn't encounter any errors, then that's good. But if you encountered any errors, open the battle and change that namespace to whatever namespace you are using for your player. And if you are not using namespace for your scripts, then just remove the namespace of the battle as well, and it will fix any problems. Now that we have the scripts imported in both projects, let's go ahead and delete that. I've also imported the SQL file, so I'm just gonna delete that as well. Let's delete the battle. Now we need to import this battle unit to our client project. So I'm just gonna drag and drop it to my scripts folder. And as I mentioned, for the battle, you need to check the namespace for this one as well. If you have a different namespace for the rest of your scripts, change the namespace of this script as well. And if you don't have namespace on other scripts, just remove the namespace for this one. Here in the UI, I am going to drag and drop these 3 scripts. So bring them here. And I think there is no need to mention to take care of the namespace of these 3 scripts that we just brought in. If you had any errors, just change the namespace and errors are gonna go away. So let me delete this 3 scripts, the same thing for this one. All that's left is this DB, and we're gonna use that later. For now, let's just minimize that. So let's go to the prefabs, and as you can see, we have a bunch of buildings that we've created. I would like to create 2 more buildings, so to do that, let me just select barracks here, bring it down there. I'm gonna change the ID to Canon. Let's change the name to Canon as well. And let's go to the materials. I am just gonna create a new material. Let's name it black. And change the color to black. and let's assign the material to make this look different than other buildings. Well, I think that's it. Let's go to the buildings and drag and drop it, create a prefab. I would also like to create a wall. So that is the wall. It has 1 rows, 1 columns, and let me just unpack this prefab. And I am just gonna remove that. The base is going to be 1 and 1. The same thing for this guy. And let's give it a color. I'm just gonna create a new material. Let's name it blue. And let's assign the value to this cube. So that is our wall. Let's create a prefab out of this one, and let's just delete that. And now here in the canvas, here in the main, I am just going to add this wall to my buildings prefabs. Also the same thing for the cannon, and also here in the shop, let me enable this. Let's go to the scene. I am going to add 2 more buildings. Let's just duplicate this. This is going to be cannon. Let's change the type to cannon. Of course, we're going to change the text for it as well. And I'm going to duplicate this one. This is going to be wall, and the ID is going to be wall. And let's change the text to wall. Okay, that's it. Now let me disable this. Now let's duplicate one of these panels. Let's use drain, and I'm gonna remove that. This is going to be search. Let's go to the script. Here in the UI, I'm gonna add UI search to this building. Well, apparently we have some errors we need to fix first. So before we go and fix those errors, let me see what this is. Yes, it has an element, an image, a close button. Well, we need the close button, but we don't need this to game objects. We also need a button. So let's create a button here. I'm gonna say UI button, and this is gonna be button search, and let's change the text to search, and let's change the size a little bit. So that should take care of that. Now let's go ahead and fix the errors. The first one up here, let's go and see. We are missing a request ID. So to fix that, let's go to the player script. Here in the request ID, we need to add 3 more IDs. The first one is battle find battle start, and the third one is battle frame. So battle find, battle start, and battle frame. This is the 3 IDs we are going to use. Let me save this. Let's go back to the client to see if there is any errors. So some of the errors are gone, but we still have some left. So let's open this. The second error is also in the player class. It is in the sync data. So all we need to fix this, let's go to the player and find the sync data method. Here it is. We just need to make this public. And let's check out the other error. Let's open this. Here in the UI main instance grid, we do not have a function called clear. So to fix that, we need to go to the scripts, and here in the build grid, and create a script called clear. So let me just copy this one. And it is going to be of type void. It is not going to take any parameters, and let's name it clear. So it's gonna loop through our buildings to check if this building is null or not. If it is not null, then it is going to be destroying that building dot game object, and at the end it is going to clear the buildings list. So these buildings are of type building, so let's go to the building class. Here it is, and also start listening on destroy class. So to do that, let's say private void on destroy, and in this case we're gonna say if there is a build bar, then destroy that build bar game object. Also, we could check to see if there is a collect button. So if there is, we're gonna destroy that as well. So I'm gonna save this. Let's go back to the client. Well, we have only one error left, and it is a variable we're missing in the player script. So let's go to the player script and create that variable. So I'm gonna say private boolean, and let's name it in battle equals to false by default. And whenever we want to access this, we're gonna say public static bool, and it is going to be in battle. So whenever we are getting the value, we are returning the instance dot in battle, and whenever we are setting the value, we're gonna say instance dot in battle equals to that value. So let's save this. Well, and thankfully we do not have any errors, so let's go to the search and attach the UI search script to this game object. Now we have elements, we have the close button, and we have the search button. So let me disable that. Now let's duplicate another panel. Let's just use main, and I'm gonna name this battle. I'm going to remove that script, and instead I'm using UI battle. So there's a lot of variables missing. Let's go to the main and disable that and use this one. So let's take a look what we need. We need a timer text and a percentage text. So let's do those two first because those are easy. I'm just gonna select all of these and delete them. Let's also delete that. I am going to use this button. Let's name it button search. So this button, we're gonna assign it to find button. We do need a close button, so let's just copy the close button from one of these other panels and paste it here. So that is our close button. Let's assign it. And now let's create the text. Here's our text, and this is going to be timer. I'm just gonna anchor it to up there, and let's see if we bring it here. Let's put 0, align it to the center, and I'm gonna duplicate that. This is going to be percentage, and assign the values. Well, let's create an empty game object and name it grid, and I'm gonna maximize this. I'm gonna make it fill the parent, change these values to 0 and bring it up here, and select the battle. Assign the grid to health bar grid. We also need a units grid, so to do that I'm gonna bring something from the shop. Here I'm gonna copy the buildings. let's paste it in our battle element and name this units. So let me expand it and let's go to the content, delete all of them except one. So this is it. Let's name it to battle unit. Well, actually, let's change it to UI battle unit. I'm just gonna remove that and assign UI battle unit to this one. We have a button for it, of course. This is the button. We need two texts. So the first one we already have. I'm gonna duplicate this, bring it here. This is going to be name. Also change the text to name. This is going to be count, and select that one. This is title. This is have text, and let's take a look. I'm gonna change the position to here. It's too big, so I think this place is good enough for it. And we also need to adjust the size. The name, of course, it is, let's say 10. The count is 15. That is the name. And this is the count. So that should do it. Now let's go to the prefabs and make a prefab out of this. We could also align this to the left side by changing the X value of the pivot to 0. And let's just delete that. Now here in the battle, we have a UI battle unit for our units prefab. And for our units grid, I'm just gonna use that. We also can assign the element. That is the element. All we need to assign now is this health bar, and everything else is set. So to do that, I'm just gonna go to the bars here in the build bar. Let's bring it here, and I'm gonna be using this build bar. Instead, I'm just gonna change it to health bar. I'm gonna remove the texts, and let me just unpack it. Now I'm just gonna delete the text. I'm gonna duplicate this, change the color to, also change the transparency, and bring it under the other one. So this is going to be background. Let's make a prefab out of this and delete that. Select battle, and this is our health bar. So now let's go ahead and create a bunch of units. So here in the prefabs, I'm gonna create a folder for them. Let's name this units. So creating units are easy. Let's just create an empty game object. Let's go to the 3D view. I'm gonna reset the position. First, let's go ahead and attach a script, battle unit, and I'll rename this to barbarian. And I'm just gonna use a capsule, 3D capsule, and let's bring it up here. Let's say 1 unit. Of course, this is, I think, too big. Let's scale it down to 0.3, 0.3, and 0.3. The same thing for the position. So this is our unit. And let's go to the materials, create a material. Let's name this orange. And that's it. That's our barbarian. Let me duplicate this, change this to archer. So this is going to be archer, and let's change the color to pink. Create another material, let's say green. And let's duplicate this. This is going to be goblin. Change the color to green. And of course, let's not forget to remove the capsule collider. And that should do it. Let's go to the prefabs units, create a prefab out of these ones, and delete them. And here in the canvas, in the battle, we have a battle units. Let's add them to this list. So that is our units. I am going to disable that. And let's save this scene. Let's go to the scripts here in the player. If you remember, we created an in battle boolean. Let's get down here in the update. We're going to say if connected, and if it is not in battle, then we're going to run this code and paste it inside that. Let's also go to the sync data, and here I'm gonna say if we are in battle, then just return. So now let's start changing the server project here in the database. Well, before we do that, let's go to the terminal and add these request IDs that we've created in our player script. Let's go up there. Here it is, battle find, battle start, and battle frame. I'm going to copy them and paste them here. So we have them both in the server and client now. Let's see what happens when we receive those packets. So we have 3 area, 1, 2, 3. This is going to be battle find. This is going to be battle start, and this is going to be battle frame. Let me clear that. So let's check out the battle find first. To check this out, let's go back to the client here in the player. Let's see battle find. I'm gonna find all the references. We are calling that in the UI search. Let's go there. And as you can see, it's being called here in the find in the UI search. It's just sending the request. So let's go to the server project. So before we proceed, let's go to the database. We have a bunch of errors, as you can see. Let's start here, authenticate player. This is going to be serialized async. So let's go check out the other scripts. This is also going to be serialized async. Now let's check out the other errors. Well, let's actually open this and go find them using the error list. The other one is here in the spend resources. So to fix these errors, let me actually go to the folder that we used as a draft, and the last script remaining is db.cs. Let's open that. So there is a bunch of functions inside this script. Let me collapse every single one of them. So first one, we have a unit.id equals to that. We're actually using this parse enum. So let me copy that. Let's go to the database and let's paste it here. So instead of building.id, so let's say it is building.id. So instead of getting it like this, it's no longer a string. So before we changed the contents of the data, this variable, this id variable, used to be a string. Right now, it's not a string anymore. It's data.buildingID. So this building ID here and the data, let's actually check this out. As you can see, it is an enum which contains the ID of different buildings. So let's go back to the database and let's just remove that. This is also going to be building ID. So I'm just gonna copy that just in case we need it, because most of the errors is because of that, I think. Let me collapse that. Let's go to the next error. So as you can see, we have an error exactly because of that. So in the case of gold storage, it is going to be data building.gold storage. The same thing for this one. This is going to be data building.elixir storage. And the same thing here. Dark elixir storage. So that is going to take care of that. Let's go for the next error. Yes, it is the same as the first error. Let me just paste the value I've copied and remove that. Well, actually, while we are here, let me just close that. This get buildings async. Let's go to the db script. So I'm gonna collapse that. Here it is, get buildings async. I'm just gonna copy all the values inside this, and let's go back to the database and paste them here, because a bunch of other columns has been added to our database and we need to get them as well. So let's go back to the db and remove this function, because we just used it. I don't need it anymore. So that's that. Let's check out other errors. So the same thing here, get building. I am going to go back and open this up. Let's just use this one. So building.id equals to that, and this is going to be building ID and building ID. So let's copy this for other errors, and let's go for the next one. As you can see, it is the same error. I'm gonna paste this, clear that. So let's go to the next one, and this is going to be serialize async. And this get server buildings async, it is going to take a string. So we're gonna say building.id.toString. And here we go, two more errors. The same thing here, we're gonna say .toString. And the final error is also, we need to say toString. And that's it, we are done. Now we need to replace the contents of get units async. Let me open this. It is actually calling get units. So let's open that. So let's go back to the db class. As you can see here, we have a get units. I'm just gonna copy everything and paste it here in the get units. And now let's go to the db and remove that class. Okay, everything that remains, we just need to copy completely. So let's grab them all and cut them, and let's go back to the database. Here at the end of our database, I'm just gonna paste them. So here we go, we have them all here. They start with a list of battles, and there are a bunch of other methods that we are going to use. So first of all, let's get down here to the last function, general update battles. We're gonna call this from general update async. So let me copy that and go to the general update async. Here it is. I'm just gonna open this up, and after this general update units training, I'm gonna call this and pass the connection and of course the delta type. Now, one more important step we need to do. We're gonna check out this updating. Let me find all the references. We are setting it to false, but we are not setting it to true. So here in the database, in the update function, when we are checking if this is false, if it is false, then we're gonna say updating equals to true. So that is an important step. Now let's go to the terminal, and we're gonna say, in the case we receive a package for battle find, we're gonna say database dot find battle target, and that's it. We also need to pass the client ID. So whenever this battle start is getting called, let's go to the client and see where that battle start is getting called. So let me just close this db.cs and also delete that. Nothing is left to apply. So let's go to the player. Here in the battle start, I'm gonna find all the references. Here it is. In the start battle, here in the UI battle class, we are creating a packet and we are writing a string, which is a data.opponent. So let's go and receive that here in the terminal. If it is battle start, we're gonna say a string opponent data equals to packet dot read a string, and simply we're gonna say database dot start battle. We're gonna pass the client ID and this opponent data. Let's also go ahead and check out the other request ID here in the player. Let's check the battle frame, find all the references. Here in the UI battle, in the update function, we are sending a request with the ID of battle frame, and this packet also includes a string. So let's go back to the terminal and let's just copy that and let's name it data or whatever, and let's say database dot add battle frame, and it's also going to pass client ID and DT. So that is for our server side. Let's go to the client side and let's take a look at the player. So here in the receive packet, let's say if we are receiving battle find, or let's create another one, battle start, and let me just remove that extra break and give this one a break. So this battle find is going to take a long, and that is going to be the target ID, the account ID of a target that is found for us. Let's say read long. It is also going to receive a data.opponent data. Let's name it opponent, and for now set it to null. And I'm gonna remove that, and I'm gonna say if target is greater than 0, which means it found a target for us. In that case, we are going to receive a string. Let's name it d equals to packet dot read a string, and this opponent equals to data dot deserialize. We're gonna say deserialize the type of data dot opponent data, and we're gonna pass the D. And here at the end, I'm gonna say UI search dot instance dot find responded. Well, let's actually check out the responded. It says FND responded. We'll need to fix that. So for now, we're just gonna pass target and opponent, and let me just rename it to find responded. And whenever we are receiving a battle start packet, we are receiving two booleans. The first one is called matched. It's gonna be read boolean, and the second one, let's name it attack read boolean. And here I'm just going to say UI battle dot instance dot start battle confirm, and it takes a boolean, let's say matched and attack. If both of them are true, then it is confirmed. We don't need to receive a value for battle frame. It's not returning anything. Now let's go to the camera controller, and this is the final step. Let's take a look here in the screen clicked. So we're gonna say if main UI main dot instance dot active. In that case, do all this stuff that you're doing. And here it is. And let's take a look. We're gonna say else if UI battle dot instance dot is active. In that case, do something else. So let's say, I'm just gonna copy that condition. I'm gonna say if that count is less than 0 and UI battle dot instance dot selected unit is greater or equal than 0. Let's take a look at this. I'm just gonna copy that and bring it here, and I'm gonna say plain position equals to UI main dot instance dot grid dot transform dot inverse transform point, and I'm gonna pass plain position. So I'm gonna convert that position to the local position, and let's check out this position. If the plain position dot x is greater or equal than 0, and the plain position dot x is less than data dot grid size, and the same thing for the z-axis. Let me just copy that, paste it here. If the z is greater than 0 and z less than that, we're gonna say UI battle dot instance dot place unit. This is going to be plain position dot x and plain position dot z, and let's cast them as an integer. And now let's take a look at the UI main. We need to add another button. So let's say battle button. That is our battle button, and we need to add a listener for it. The same thing here we did for the shop. I'm just gonna copy that, paste it here, and say battle button clicked. And I'm also going to duplicate this. This is going to be battle button, and this is going to be battle button clicked. And let's just create a method here, private void on leave, and in this case I am just gonna cut that. We're gonna say UI instance cancel, and instead of that I am just going to say, let me actually remove that. Here in the set status to false, the first thing I'm gonna check if the status is false, which means we are leaving, and we're gonna call on leave. Okay, I think we've done everything. Let's go to the UI. Here in the main, I'm gonna enable this button shop. Let's duplicate that. This is going to be button battle. Assign it here button battle and reposition it. Well, first of all, let's anchor it to this corner of the world. Here we go. And this is going to be battle. Let's save that. And now I am going to start my server. And let's go ahead and start our client. Well, we received an error. Apparently we do not have a column called blind radius in our database. So let me stop the client first, and let me stop the server. Let's take a look. Well, yes, we should have also copied the query. So to fix that, let's actually go back to the desktop, and this folder, of course I've deleted all of the files. Let me extract it one more time, and as you can see we have a DB here. So here in the get units, I'm also going to copy the query. Let me copy that. Let's go to the server project. Well, actually let's do the get buildings first because it's already open. So here, get buildings async. I am just going to copy the query from db.cs, and let's go and paste it here instead of this query. So I'm gonna close that. We also need to do the same thing for our get units. So let's find it. Here it is, get units, and let's go and copy the query. Paste it here in the server project database, get units, and that should take care of it. I should have copied all the function, but I just copied the content. I forgot to copy the query as well. That should fix it. So I am just going to close that. Let's start the server and let's play the client. Here we go. I am going to go to the shop, place a cannon, and let's also move the buildings up there to see the difference between different accounts. That is the town hall, that's the cannon, we have a builder here. Okay, that should take care of it. Add another cannon. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm gonna close this. Let's go to the database. Here in the accounts, this is the account that has been generated for us, and this is the device ID that identifies us. So I'm just gonna rename this device ID to something else, whatever. So right now, if I play the client one more time, it's gonna create another account for me because it's not gonna recognize any device in our database matching this device. So as you can see, it created another one. Let's go and refresh the account. As you can see, this is the account we renamed, the device ID, and this is the account is just created for us. So let's go and place a barracks, and now let's place an army camp as well here. Now let's go to the battle. Okay, I think the listener of the buttons is wrong, so let me close that. Let's go to the canvas. In the main we have a battle button. Okay, the problem is not here in the UI, it is inside the script. So we're gonna say battle button clicked, and instead of UI shop we need to say UI search, and that should take care of that. Let's go back and play the client again. So let's go and check the battle. I'm gonna click search. Well, I am unable to move around. This is actually weird. Let me stop this. And let's go to the camera controller. Here in the move started, we're gonna say if UI main.instance.is active or UI battle.instance.is active. The same thing for the zoom. Let's go to zoom started. We're gonna say or UI battle.instance.is active. If one of these two panels are open, you can move and zoom around. And now let's start the game. Okay, let's go to the battle search. Here we go. Well, for some reason the position of these three buildings didn't change, but the other ones are changed. So basically we can attack this player right now. Right now we have two accounts. Let me close this. This is our account, and when we search it's gonna find the other account. So that's it. And if we click on this shop, well, actually we need to change the text of this to search again or find the next target. If we click this, it's gonna find another target for us, but right now there is no target because there's only two accounts in the database. So let me close that. We don't have any units. Let me train some units. Barbarian, archer. Okay, I'm gonna wait for them to be trained. Let's check this out. We have 6 barbarians, 1 archer. We could have added more units actually. Let's go ahead and do that. Here in the train elements, in the units, I think. Yes, I'm just gonna add another one. Let's name it Goblin. And change the text to Goblin. And while we are here, let me go to the battle and change the text of the button search to next. Okay, let's save that, play the game. Let's train some goblins. Okay, let's go and search a player. As you can see, we have 7 archers, 7 barbarians and 8 archers. We can attack using them. Let's see what happens if we train the goblins. We have 0 goblins for some reason. That is a problem for later. So let's go and search. Yes, we have the goblins. Right now the timer is at 2. Well, actually this 2 you can change it here in the data.battle duration. It's 120 seconds. And make sure anything you change here on the client or the server, you need to change it on the other machine as well. If you're changing it on server, change it on client as well, or if you change it on client, change it on server as well. These two values need to be exactly the same thing. So let's select a barbarian, place one here. Okay, it's attacking this building. As you can see, the timer started counting down. I'm gonna add some archers. Let's add a goblin, a barbarian. Okay, that cannons are gonna start shooting soon. Okay, they are progressing. Let me add a bunch of more. Okay, the cannon is targeting the units. As you can see, it killed archers. Well, the goblin is going to go for the resources. It's gonna ignore the cannon. Right now 82%. Let's see if we're lucky. Come on. Yep, 94%. And this is the last building. Yes, we won 100%. So this is the battle for now. It is not perfect. It has a lot of bugs, I'm sure of it. I've been writing the code for this battle system for almost a month now, and it's still not complete. There is still a lot of vague areas that I need to cover, and I know this video wasn't exactly a tutorial because I was just keep changing things without explaining them. Believe me, I want to explain, but it is really complicated and the lines of code is a lot, so it takes time to understand what exactly everything is doing. So hopefully in the next videos I'm gonna do more explaining, but for now, let's actually play the game one more time. For now, it is acceptable. As I said, there's a lot of bugs, but this is acceptable. We can work with this, we can improve this. While I was creating this battle system, performance was my main concern, so I didn't pay a lot of attention to other things. But for now, this is it. Sorry it took so long. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.